welcome, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Islam, to the IANL community. Inshallah ta'ala. What is customary and what should be always done is start with a dua. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us tawfiq in this night, inshallah, to be able to achieve that which pleases Him. And that which is following in the footsteps of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant everybody here who has joined us tawfiq in all of their affairs, grant them ease in their difficulties, and inshallah join their hearts in love and affection towards one another upon the Quran, upon the Sunnah. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. So just a quick heads up with regards to health and safety, because obviously we've got to run through that. You have your fire exits just back there, and in the way a lot of the brothers, so inshallah, make your way. You guys have laid your eyes on the wide array of delicious delicatessens at the back of the board. Do not sort of extend your hand just yet. Inshallah, we'll give you the green light as soon as the time for that opens up. But you can find all the refreshments that you need at the back there. If you wish to grab some water, whatever, during the session, no problem. Inshallah, you can do so at the back. Inshallah, what we will be doing is the following. This is a quick run through of what we're going to be covering, inshallah ta'ala. We're going to go through, obviously, the dua and intro, that's what I'm doing right now. We're going to go through some general trustee targets and what we plan to do for what the trustees plan to do through the 2 years that they are in term for. We're going to go through 2 particular trustee targets in some depth. Then there's going to be an opportunity for everybody to pitch in with their questions so that the trustees could answer, inshallah ta'ala. Then there'll be time for refreshments, and then we'll have an update on the extension project, and then we'll close with some final question and answers as well. With regards to the questions, you can ask them at any time using the barcode that you can see sort of stuck up around the hall and on the screen here. If you haven't already scanned the barcode, you just go onto slido.com and enter in this code, and he will then ask the trustees in tow, inshallah, each of those questions. So if a question comes up into your mind, and sometimes you have those tendencies, we want to keep the free flow of the presentations going, but we don't want you to obviously miss out on the opportunity to ask questions. So those questions will all be amalgamated and asked at one time. Observe those etiquettes every time Muslims come together. There are certain mannerisms and certain characteristics that we must employ at all times, especially when it is a shura session like this, which is we must respect one another whenever we are speaking. We shouldn't speak over one another. And if we do have something that we wish to say, then we wait in our turn to say it. Whatever you want to sort of speak about, you can speak about, inshallah ta'ala, but make sure it is hadith. Make sure there is a point to what you are saying, inshallah ta'ala, and so that we can all benefit. I think that's all, and I will now pass on to, inshallah, Sidi Umar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So what I've been asked to talk about is general trustee targets. Now you might ask why we're talking about this. Well, the last time, you might remember, we talked about volunteering, we talked about membership, and we talked about trustees. So these are all actually categories of volunteer. But if you remember from last time, those of you here, we went into quite a lot of detail about how you can volunteer, what it involves, how you can become a member, what it involves, and then how you can become a trustee, and what it involves. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about what we've called trustee targets. So these are the targets that the trustees are planning to deliver over their term. So every 2 years, trustees are elected by the members, and so for this term, we've set ourselves some targets as trustees. So we thought we'd share those with you. I'd say just before we start, this isn't the only game in town. Actually, most of the things that are delivered through the masjid are delivered under the stewardship of our director, Imam Hamid here. So all the things that happen there, kind of business as usual operations, they actually happen under Imam Hamid. And he's busy reinvigorating some of the things that were ceased because of COVID. So, for example, he recently started with some help from volunteers, lots of help from volunteers actually, a new Muslim circle again, alhamdulillah, it's going well. He's looking to restart our external speakers. We used to have external speakers that came in. So all of these things, they're all happening under kind of operations, and inshallah they will continue to happen. There's a lot of good work, all supported by you guys, I mean everybody, all the kind of Musallin and the volunteers. So what I'm talking about here is just specific things that the trustees are going to try and deliver on behalf of INL, really. So we had loads and loads of ideas, right? Now you can imagine from all over the place, people gave mashallah lots of ideas. We had to kind of organize those. So what did we try and do? I'll go through the targets in a minute. This is the kind of methodology. So we categorized them first. So there's so many ideas. I can't remember even how many there were. We categorized them into kind of compliance, infrastructure, and services. And I'll go a little bit about what those categories are in a second. And then we had to prioritize them. So there's 8 of us, mashallah, trustees. We all, there's no way we could have delivered the 30 to 50 or however many things that we really want to deliver. So we had to kind of prioritize them. And then what we did is we assigned them to so each one has a lead trustee that you can go and kind of nobble, and many trustees to support. And then we kind of went on to start preparing plans for each one. So I'll go a little bit about categories. So some of these categories really aren't going to be very interesting, but as trustees, we're charged with making sure that the INL runs as a charity. So there's lots of requirements that the Charity Commission puts on us. There's requirements obviously that the law puts on us, and so there's things that really aren't very interesting to people generally, but they're things that we have to do as trustees. And some of the things that we're trying to deliver fall into this. We call them compliance. Maintaining the kind of assets of INL, including this masjid, that comes under infrastructure. So anything that's to do with maintaining the assets, we classify that as infrastructure. And the thing I think that most people, including myself, are most interested in are the services. So what are the new services that we're trying to develop, inshallah, and roll out? Okay, so you may not be able to read all that. Don't worry, I'll go through each one at a kind of very high level. There'll be a program, we've got a specific presentation on that next, so I'll leave that to Tahmoor and Abdul Basit to talk about. Financial aid service, so we as a masjid, we collect sadaqah, zakah, and we distribute it to the local community in line with the policy. What this target is saying is we want to make that a kind of a sustainable, repeatable service. So it involved, and so it's not reliant on, say, the Imam having spare time to do things. So it's meant to be a service that, inshallah, can process a number of applications a month, obviously as long as there's funds available. So that was one of the targets we set ourselves, to make sure that we rolled this out. So, website campaigns, making sure that we've got resources in place to run it, making sure that our policy is updated and compliant with all the things that we need to be compliant with, etc., etc. Another target was developing activities for seniors, and again, Suleiman's going to talk about that in a minute, so I won't talk about that too much. One which is quite exciting, I think, for me, is structured Islamic education classes. So Tahmoor took on the role of kind of specifying and planning structured Islamic education services. So we're meant to be, so inshallah, in a masjid, we want to provide formal courses, inshallah, perhaps even with qualifications and things at the end, but something that benefits the community. So it's listed, these are in particular for adults in a classroom setting for all segments of the community. What else? Flat refurbishment, okay, not necessarily that interested. One of our flats was the flats that we own that provides rent to the masjid so that it can run itself. Needs quite a lot of attention, so that was needed to be kind of the roof need to be fixed and things like that, need to be refurbished. So that was a target. Commence works on the extension, and we'll talk about the extension in a minute, but the target is make sure that we start our extension before November 2023, which is the date that we have to start according to the Planning Commission. Appoint an INL Academy head teacher. You all know that Imam Shaukat left. So one of the targets was to find a new head teacher, which has now been completed. Sustainable INL treasury function. One of the things under compliance. So trustees come every 2 years, they potentially get replaced. What we need to make sure is that we have a very firm platform for for INL to move forward on, so that all the things when new people come in, the processes are very clear. Who does what is very clear. So again, just kind of maturing our organisation. We have a few properties, sort of rental properties that I've mentioned before. We needed to kind of finalise and organise the deeds. We needed to do that with the what are they called? Land registry. So that was one of the targets. Again, it's more a compliance thing and an assets thing rather than a services thing. Regular community briefing sessions. So this is kind of evidence of that. We want to do more of these things, and so this one will be a bit. We want this to become kind of much more two-way. It won't yet until we establish it, but inshallah it will. Review and amend the constitution. Okay, quite compliance related. INL property management portfolio, just making sure that again that is that kind of can run regardless of who's in post. It just runs. We have a service, and at some point we're going to have to start fundraising for phase 2 of the extension. So just that's a kind of whistle stop tour of the targets that the trustees have set, and inshallah we'll try and deliver them in the term. It's not the only thing the trustees do. There's lots of other things they do, but these are the things that are kind of change focused, so they should change something. So we get new Tarbiyah classes, or we get new services for seniors, or we get new structured education courses, etc. Okay, so what next? Right, so why are we saying all this? Well, we're saying all this really to give you an insight really into what the trustees can do or do, and just to really try and allow people to understand whether it's for them or not. For example, we run with volunteers. We absolutely run with volunteers. Most, if not all, of our services are facilitated and can only run with the help of Musallin. So we're always looking for more people. If we have more people, we can do more things. And inshallah, we're so blessed in that if we have the right intention and we do things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we can only benefit from it in the dunya and in akhirah. So we're very lucky with the volunteers we have. We want everybody. We want to kind of spread the love, right? So we want everybody to have this opportunity. We'd like to be a bit more inclusive, inshallah. Right, and the other thing is there's three or four services that were on that list. They were the 3 or 4 that we reckoned that we could take on at the time. So many other things that we wouldn't have been able to take on, but we recognise they're really important. Whether it's there were some ideas about having a soup kitchen, for example. There were ideas about I think other masajid have run campaigns to feed children, during the week, those kind of things. So there are things that as a community we could practically do to help ourselves, but also the local community. But we don't have the manpower to do that. If there's anything that any one of you are kind of really passionate about and really want to kind of pick up the lead, then please go and, Faisal's not there, but please go to that table and Faisal will help you. We've got a form you can fill out. These services need to be viable and sustainable. Obviously, we don't have an endless pot of money, and they need to be sustainable. They need to be able to run. It's not a case of it'll work 2 weeks and it'll fizzle out, because there's not a lot of benefits in that, especially as you're spending so much time getting it ready. So we want to make these things like run like clockwork without necessarily individuals needing to be there, etc. So there's a lot of work involved in setting up a sustainable service. But we want to be really kind of open. If you want to come in, I know I saw Khalid over there. He set up him and his wife set up an Eid party, mashallah. Just nothing to do with INL, just on his own back. But those are the kind of things that if more of us get involved and more of us take ownership for. I think one of the key people who talked about Eid in the Park initially and went to the council to do all that negotiation was also somebody who came up to you and gave the idea. So and then followed through. We need people who are going to be on board, follow through with it and take ownership. If you can do that, happy to absolutely sponsor, inshallah, service on behalf of INL, inshallah, in service of the community. And we'll give you access to volunteers, inshallah. We'll give you access to website. We'll give you access to funds if we've got them, or at least fundraising capability. We'll inshallah absolutely try and help, but we are constrained in the amount of time that we can give to actually push these forward. Even if 5 people come and say, "Right, I want to do this," that's brilliant, right? Even if it's a small service, subhanAllah, it will grow, inshallah. And think of the ajr you'll get on the day of judgment, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Taimur, and this is I'm super pumped to be able to present to you about the new Tarbiyah program, inshallah. And this is something that we're going to be launching very soon, inshallah, aimed at the youth. Just to make it interactive, anyone know like what Tarbiyah means and kind of the objective behind Tarbiyah? A lot of Arabs, mashallah.
Teaching.
Got it?
It's child rearing, how you raise a child, or how to raise a human.
Anyone else?
What about cats?
Great.
Yeah, nice.
Anyone else? You're talking about nurturing kind of development. You're talking about putting in a lot of effort to get that objective that you're trying to get. So inshallah, we're going to be launching this program. It's going to be a structured program focused on the youth. We want to develop our youth. We want to train them, inshallah. And specifically, we're targeting the 14 to 21-year-olds. We feel like this is a very important category of the youth. They come into a critical path in their life. They think they're kind of independent, whether they are or not, that's debatable. So we feel, inshallah, boys and girls in this age range, we feel like we need to kind of do something specifically for them. And so what we want to do, we want to make sure they have the kind of really important firm Islamic grounding, and also, inshallah, develop their more dunyai kind of aspects as well. So they're not only just like, very strong Muslims, inshallah, confident Muslims, but also able to give back to the community, be role models for the wider society as well. And inshallah, we aim to enable leaders to be brought forth from the community. We have these trustees here. Inshallah, we'll have better people, in the future. And we want to make sure that we have, a sustainable, kind of cycle in our community to bring forth leaders. So that's kind of like an overview in terms of what we want to achieve. How do we want to do it? So inshallah, we're going to put a program together focused on these 3 main development areas. So we have spiritual development, physical development, and personal development. So for spiritual development, we want to make sure that these youth, these boys and girls, or young adults, have a firm Islamic grounding. They know what it means to be a Muslim. They're able to demonstrate Islamic values in the community. So it's not just kind of praying and purification, but also like what it means to be a Muslim in the community. Helping the homeless, helping cities. So we have to make sure that we're staying on top of this. We're giving the youth the ammunition to stay on top of these difficult situations. So that's the spiritual development. Inshallah, we'll be working on a plan with the imams to make sure that the young boys and girls have the kind of ammunition to be good Muslims, inshallah. Physical development. So this is kind of self-explanatory a bit, but we want to make sure that we have facilities such as sports, physical activities. They're able to learn life skills as well. Things like kind of woodwork. I know Brother Umar, mashallah, he does everything at home. Electrical stuff, woodwork, all kinds of stuff. So inshallah, we want people like that. Cooking, nutrition, health, and kind of general well-being. This is really important. And we don't just want to organize activities kind of for the sake of activities. So whether it's kind of football or mountain climbing, we want there to be a purpose. So why are you playing football? Inshallah, if we can develop, team working or confidence or some kind of other skills whilst they're doing these activities, and we want to make sure that we have a purpose behind organizing such activities. And then the final of the triad is personal development. So these are different attributes that we feel are really important in the modern world that we need to develop. So general career guidance, mentoring, having something along that ilk would be really useful. Public speaking, being able to have that is a very kind of useful attribute. Critical thinking, confidence building, time management, financial management, anger management. Again, these are really important attributes to have in a family, in a community, in a society. And so inshallah we'll be working on this. And if there's obviously other things that you think that we could fit in that makes sense, then inshallah we're happy to hear. Next step inshallah, I think that's it.
Assalamu alaikum. What we want to do, the next steps are we want to form a program activity calendar. So from the 3 development areas, we just want to have activities based from these 3 areas. We want to put it in a calendar for the next 12 months, inshallah, so everybody's aware. There's no surprises. We can plan it properly. We can have the best involvement from the community, from the parents. And that leads on to what we need from you guys, from the community, inshallah. We need leaders to drive each of the development areas. We do have a team, myself and Tahmur and a couple of other brothers in the brothers area helping out. They've already started doing some work on the spiritual development side of things. We're in the process of onboarding some sisters to help us with that from both sides as well, from the boys and the girls side. After that we'll need leaders to drive each of the activities. So when we have the specific activities, like some of the things that Mo talked about, are mentioned here, we'll need leaders from there. Like some people might have experience in this skill set, so we'll need some people from there. To deliver each of these activities, we'll need volunteers from the community. So we'll use the volunteer portal and list what sort of volunteers we need, what sort of skills they have. We require how many volunteers we require for each activity. So look out for that on the volunteer portal and be involved as much as you can, inshallah.
How many minutes do you have left? Got 3 minutes left and we'll make the use of this. So inshallah, if you raise your hands, if you've got children in that age range, 14 to 21. Okay. Why did it take so long? I'm sure you.
It's calculating the age, right?
Yeah, so do other people have any, other family members, nephews in that age range? Oh, mashallah, quite a few. That's really good. We've got people that are able to, maybe get involved in this program that we have. Is this something? Good stuff like that, inshallah. So we have your support. So stay tuned.
I think what we have to actually attract is not, if we say to our children, whatever, the age 14 to 21, the parents say, quite often the reaction is rebellious. They don't want to do it, the parents say.
Exactly.
But peer group is important.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it, but if I go and say to my son that do it, likely he is not do it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I want him to do something, I tell him don't do it.
100%.
Then he will do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's a very difficult age range. Yes, so already in the masjid, we have we have a few programs catering to this age bracket, and so they are regular people, and alhamdulillah, like they bring other people. So definitely, like 100%, that's a really good point. And inshallah, we hope that by other youth coming, that they'll bring their friends and so on and so forth.
Inshallah, to the tarbiyah.
Pardon?
And go back to the tarbiyah.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you have gaming, and if you have bodybuilding, and if you have some of the other physical stuff, what chances are they will come, right?
Yeah, inshallah, hopefully. Like, the thing is, we want to mix and match, so it's not just all like, study Islam and this and that. We want to like have the best of both worlds, have fun activities, have serious activities, activities with a bigger objective. So inshallah, we'll try and get the best of both worlds and make this an enjoyable program. Are we out of time?
No, you.
Sorry, how do you plan to incorporate this with their studies? Is it a weekend activity or daily activity?
So I think inshallah, when we get the plans for each of these areas sorted with the activities, we'll have to see where we can schedule it in. Some things might make sense to have it on a regular basis. Other activities might be in the holidays. So we haven't finalized that. So we definitely need to kind of bear that in mind with the studies and stuff. We don't want to, get the beatings of the parents. Actually, we want them to do question one.
Just recently there was a report by Dr. Charity that said that children as young as 9 are involved in drugs, are involved in knife crime. Isn't at age 14 what you are starting a bit too late?
Yeah.
Because by then they've already picked up the bad habits.
Yeah, there might be like certain activities that we have which parents and other people might feel that actually their younger kids might be, it might be suitable for them as well. So like we're saying this is the age range because we feel like this is, with the resources that we have, this is what we can manage, because 14 to 21, they can be younger later on as well. Don't worry, there'll be time for questions. Jazakallah khair.
I think we should take example of the scouts and the brownies,
Yeah.
where they started a young.
One of the servants of the masjid. Quickly, before we start, inshallah, I just wanted to give a background to this service. This service was initiated and so conflict of interest declared already. So why this service? Why are we doing this service as a masjid? It's because this service, this demographic is the most expected to help one another to attain Jannah. So because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, so we are all like friends and help one another to attain Jannah. So the other thing that might be interested for this age category is health and welfare service, whereby we have experts who advise them on healthy living, exercises, and how to keep their balance, dieting, especially those with diabetes, and so on and so forth. The next also is to look at engaging them to help deal with or cope with loneliness. It's a very, very serious issue. When they go and knock on houses, within the area, there's so many people that are Muslims, but they never attend the masjid. Some come for Juma, some come for only, like, let's say, Isha Salah, and so some have got no access to the masjid whatsoever. And some don't know how to use the internet, so they can't access our services. So we had a focus group meeting where we had brainstorm on what sort of services can we actually offer the masjid, this age category. And alhamdulillah, we had a sister also who did a very big, heavy lifting for us. She went to all these charities. She looked at the Jewish charities. She looked at Age Concern, Age UK, sorry. It's a very important service for this age category, whereby it could be like a structured class. We used to have one for the sisters, run by Tina, bring them to masjid, having a chat with the imams, tea and chat, freestyle. So it's on cookery as well. You can come and bring your food and you share in the masjid. So if you do that, inshallah, I'm very much interested in that. The general education. This is just educating the Muslim, this age group, on, let's say, the tajweed, how to read the Quran. And alhamdulillah, on that one, Imam Muslim is mashallah is doing a great job. Him and Muhammad Abaik. After Fajr, every day there is a tajweed class in the masjid. Actually, the Quran recitation where your recitation is corrected, and some of us are actually learning how to memorize the Quran as well. So it's something that really, if you got the time to do, to come down, inshallah, is very beneficial. Then we have the Islamic education, which I said earlier is about sitting down with the sheikhs, with the imams, and external speakers to discuss on important topics of concern to this age group. Practical help. We're looking at like going for shopping, taking them to the post office, helping them how to use the apps, like NHS app, like even the website. We've got tons of information on the website, on our website, that some of them don't know how to use it at all. So inshallah, it's a service that we also signposted that inshallah we might be able to do. Okay. So after all this long list of services that we came up, time to reflect, time to do their ibadah, and also time to catch up with their friends. And the other thing is also, it's going to help. Another age category, which is very important, is the Woodhouse College students as well. They come very early for Zohar. I don't know if some of you noticed them. They pray their Salah and leave. So if the masjid is open early, at least we are killing two birds with one stone, so to speak. The next one is social gathering, tea and snack, weekly chat with the sheikhs. So this is one of the services that inshallah we are planning to provide for the over 55s, subject to obviously the resource and the manpower. Next one is exercise, both indoors and outdoors. Indoors exercise, as I said, should be like by an instructor teaching people how to exercise and keep fit. And the other one is organized walks outside in the parks, or even climb in the mountains if possible. The last one that we earmarked for us to see if we can provide is help with technology, how to kind of help. A lot of us don't need, we buy a phone. I mean, I struggled for 6 hours to set up a new phone. So it's true that a lot of us don't know how to use these apps and this technology. Once you hit over 50, so you're on a spiral, downward spiral in terms of technology. You don't want to know, you just want shortcut to everything. So this service, inshallah, will be of good help to help the over 55s, and that will be done by way of workshops. And you bring your tablets along on a messy Wednesday, and we got really techie guys in the masjid that can go through all these things, inshallah, using Allah. And then so the last but not least is, how do you get involved? How do you get involved as end users and also general Muslim? We get involved by at least 3 ways. One, attend it yourself, i.e., and also spread the word. Encourage others to attend. And also you volunteered for the service, because this service cannot actually take place without the help of the volunteers, as the woman said earlier. So please, if you like to be involved with this, you can speak to Faisal after, or speak to myself to take your name details down, and inshallah we can sit down and see how we can help. So that's all we have for this service, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all of us. Amen. Accept it and put it on our book of Mizan on Yawm al-Qiyamah, inshallah.
Ameen, ameen, ameen. Akramak Allah, ya Habib. Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So, Jazakumullah khair for all the presenters. So those are just 2 of the things that we're trying to do, and things that we trying to introduce and would like you to get involved with. So open it up for questions. And who's got the slider? So do you got any questions?
To ask them. Inshallah, we'll give you feedback on the slide of Allah.
Okay. So,
SubhanAllah, is the Exodus now.
We are actually going for plans. We are planning dinner. So
You should invite us.
The Jamaat is supposed to be Jesus, no?
55 cents.
Let us go khuruj.
right, so there's not much time between me and your food, by the way. So I'll just take one question.
Will the structured classes be available for brothers and sisters?
They gave me food.
Yeah, I can't leave, man.
Yeah,
The Jamal
will structured educational classes be available for brothers and sisters? Yes. So yes, inshallah, like everything that we do is available for brothers and sisters, unless otherwise stated. So yeah. Yeah, in my experience elsewhere with other Islamic organizations, we tend to have like even 2/3 of the class tends to be sisters, simply because when they get access, alhamdulillah, they kind of flock. And so we want to make sure that, especially when it comes to education, where we want to pay a lot of emphasis on making sure that sisters have that access to the sheikhs.
I just wanted to make 2 comments on the 2. Should I just say it? Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khalid. I just wanted to make 2 comments on the 2 objectives that the Tarbiyah and the over 55 group. I think for the over 55 group, one of the things I've noticed as a GP with over 55s, particularly more sort of over 70s and so on, is the loneliness point. And there's a lot of lonely Muslims in our community. Some people go a single person, come and talk to me. Someone who, a volunteer from the masjid who want to help them there. Sometimes it's just actually the presence of another human being with them is all that matters. So I think I would say that's the priority for the over 55s, is actually tackling the loneliness and just having someone that they can talk to with no defined objective. And the other thing about Tarbiyah, I am personally happy to volunteer for careers advice for being a doctor, and I think that we've got so much experience within our members alone and the trustees to be able to offer career advice, because I think that there's a lot of teenagers who have the problem with nowadays is too much choice, right? Everyone thinks they could do everything, and so they do nothing, and then they're sort of 50 years old and don't know what to do still. So I think that's important. The careers advice, and also just protecting our youth, because today more than any time, the attacks on Islam intellectually are on the internet, very easy to see, and atheism is glorified. I've seen, unfortunately, a lot of youth lose their faith to atheism more than anything else. Christianity, I don't think is a challenge, like a true challenger, or Judaism or any of these other faiths. So atheism, this idea that sort of individualism and libertarianism, that's the big worry. And being intellectually prepared, I would say, is the most important thing for the kids.
Just got a few things from Slido. You've answered that one. How does someone access the financial services? So send something in, send an email into info@inl.org.uk. But actually, there should be, I don't know if it's on yet, but there should be a website, web page which lists out the service, and we'll put has an application form on it. Has it gone live yet?
No.
Okay, so it'll go live in the next few days or so, maybe a week or two, inshallah. Otherwise, send something into info, or come and talk to any of the imams, or me if you want. Is it possible to announce how much money gets collected every week, just for transparency? So I'm not sure who this is from, but we put up the number every week on the notice board. Maybe it's only in the men's. Maybe is it put in the women's as well?
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe we need to put in the women's too.
Collection and expenses as well.
Expenses, yeah, very important expenses.
how would you help the youth from moving away from Islam? So I think
there were quite a few on the kind of youth aspect. How would you help youth who are moving away from Islam, and how do we make out children? So even in the past, we've had like programs that we've worked with other organisations who specialise in youth, such as Islamic Network, and so we've had programs such as Craze Mania or something for girls and Night Mania for boys, and this is a really kind of like really cool session for the kids because I say kids but young adults, youth, because they have like really fun activities. They have like pizza where they can kind of get together and chill and eat, and then they also have like an opportunity to ask the teachers or the chef that comes like one-to-one as well with questions that they have, and based on the feedback that they've given, like the shuyukh often say that, you know, some of the youth were really on the edge of Islam, some might have even left Islam, but then this program allowed them to come back and get their kind of questions answered. And so we have like, you know, inshallah programs like this that will be able to cater towards kind of these difficult situations, inshallah. There was also a question around, will the Tarbiyah program discuss current affairs with the youth? Yeah, inshallah, like I mentioned, things like social media, things like drugs, they also have like Islamic aspects that people need to be aware of. So inshallah, we will try and cover that. And then what about social development? There's also like, so we had 3 kind of circles. There's an overlap between them, and also like some things maybe might not be explicitly stated there, but we'll try and cover it in some of the other aspects. So for example, the Islamic aspect really covers, you know, a broad range of things. So inshallah, we do hope to cover topical matters, social development, especially when it comes to interaction with kind of the community as well. Will the masjid be open for sisters as well 1 hour before Dhuhr?
Yes, inshallah, if we start the service, it's going to be for brothers and sisters. We can't just only masjid for brothers, only the sisters as well. Alhamdulillah, it's something that we studied already, but we need to formalize it.
and when will these services be available? So I'm not sure. So we haven't got firm dates for those yet, but inshallah, where the brothers and sisters are kind of working through that, and anybody who does wish to volunteer, I think it will make it easier.
I want to just ask.
Yeah, good question.
I just wanted to say, in terms of the youth, I wanted just to give a suggestion, perhaps in terms of targeting at universities, because that's where lots of misinformation happens. I think misinformation is rife in universities, and people tend to want to debate a lot. If you offer like a safe environment here where people can debate in an open manner under the supervision of scholars and Imam Sami, Imam Hamid, and I think that would be very important to give them a safe space to develop and ask important questions.
Just repeat things just in case we didn't hear.
Oh, wow, that's a big question, one. So basically, at universities, there's a lot of challenges faced from the youth. We want to basically allow the youth to have a platform such that they're able to face these challenges, basically.
Debate them and ask questions in a safe manner.
And we want, the youth to be able to ask questions in a safe manner, especially to Imam Hamid was right. So Imam Hamid, you in?
No pressure.
Yeah, we actually did something for. A while back, we did something for the Woodhouse Islamic Society. They would come here once a week, and we planned with them a sort of like a debate session where we picked like miscellaneous topics. I think one was about hijrah. As Muslims, should we stay here? Should we migrate? What are the pros and cons of each, and so on and so forth. So we had like a for and against, and they both argued their points, and with the help of Imam Osama and myself, sort of guiding the topic of discussion. So it was really, really good, and it sort of like highlighted some good things. So inshallah, that's something that we can maybe reinstate and push out to universities as well.
Okay, so just this Q&A on these things is meant to be 10 minutes. I don't want to keep you from your food. Inshallah, after the break, there's going to be a short presentation on where we are with the extinction. Please stick around for that. So please help us out. Yeah, there were a few, but because of time, we're going to eat. Yeah, we've got a Q&A at the end as well.
Shall we just do this 10-minute break?
Yeah. Right. So yes, so have a 10-minute break.
Can I ask a basic question? This mosque has been in existence for like 25 years now, or 30 years. Do we know what is the Muslim population of Barnet? Do we hold like a census, which is the government has a census, whereby they know the number of people that are in each?
About 15% of the population.
No, I don't want the overall. I'm just interested in Barnet Council. How many Muslims are there?
Yes,
How should we cater for them?
This is in Barnet Borough.
Yes, because we are in Barnet.
15% of the population are Muslims.
15%. So that comes to how many? I want numbers.
I think around 40,000, I believe.
40,000, 40.
Yeah. I've got the data, but I forgot it. I knew the numbers, I've got the projections as well. Were you sleeping? When your old friend was asking the question. Same question about income and expenses. She wanted the Imam salary to run the notice board. She's all there with like halal, whatever, for something. I said, your stuff out in the notice board then? Yeah.
But they're trying to keep people's subscriptions because otherwise,
so they need to
all
branch
of the other
out.
rubbish
Yeah.
So
they're branching out, bringing in the Maulana, yeah?
Quite a few sort of like Arabic stuff, a lot of Arabic stuff. So you access it even from the UK. So they're trying to keep their audience base. No, I mean this stuff is really good. You kind of wish that you have more days in the week to do extra stuff. But my wife, inshallah, volunteered to head at least the two Eids and celebrations.
Yeah.
Like we did last year.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
I think that as a minimum, I would love to have like more like dinners and socials, like big dinners where actually we would just encourage also fundraising and stuff like that. Just and keeping it local, like for example the Tarbiyah thing. Woodhouse College, Cookhouse College, keeping it. This is our primary community. Keeping it local, making sure that so how are we going to attract these people? Well, you go to Woodhouse, go to Cookhouse College, and these are the people. This is our local community. Even if they don't live around here, it's still within walking distance.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Because you reach out, provide their services, other people will come to it. So, yes, the capacity is there. I'm right, when I used to live in Christchurch, right? After schools, especially when the Maghrib was around this time, from the winter, like 4 o'clock, like 4:30. So we done my 3:30 and I'll take a detour and I'll jump on the 263 to get to High Wycombe. So I used to live. So on the way, I used to come here, pray my Maghrib, jump on the bus and go home. And that's how I met like some brothers that used to pray here and stuff like that, and made friends and got interested in the masjid and that sort of thing. So that was quite helpful.
Really initially attracted me to the masjid, but I started to come to the masjid much more when I was 16, 17. And I think we used to have, we probably do now as well, but talks after Friday, Isha or Maghrib.
Yeah.
Time. then we'd go downstairs. That was the time when Mahdi was here, Ustad Mahdi. We used to do like a tafsir and other people, other external speakers as well. Remember we had one on, halal food, and how this guy was saying, even the halal stuff is all rubbish. And people were like, get him out, get him out.
We don't want to hear none of that.
But yeah, just attracted me, and then after that, that was how I just got into the religion much more. Yeah.
Didn't you used to teach?
Yeah.
You used to teach like Quran and stuff, right?
To kids, yeah. At the Sunday school at Woodhouse. Initially there.
Oh, no way.
And then I used to, I went to 5 households.
Faisal in there, yeah?
Faisal, the one that Faisal used to teach at, Muslim Welfare Society.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was the teacher for the baby kids, the big little kids, 3 to 5, whatever. We used to just have jokes.
There wasn't a lot of teaching, just games, right?
Yeah. It's so sad though, because I was saying that there are some people who lost their faith. One of the kids that I taught is atheist and quite a staunch one at that, and his mum has suffered mental consequences of that, they're very, very high achieving kids. Both boys went to Cambridge to study physics, and then this idea of atheism basically scientism, that science will give us all the answers. We just need to give it time. It gives us all the answers of everything. And it's a very attractive idea for.
So inshallah, after everything else, everything's the masjid. This is proper.
I've got a good grounding.
No, where's it going to go?
Afterwards. Downstairs.
No. Where's the thing going to be recorded?
It's live, it's not on YouTube.
Why?
And
because that's what MAB Muhammad Abdul Wasi
and like
said, we could be accessible.
Yeah, I think that like basics are like
to read the Quran.
And can you make that slide?
It's not try to as clear as possible.
You live locally. The deep stuff is why we are. How to be a Muslim.
Oh, is it?
That's for kids. In that age of questioning from 14 to 21, that age,
How are you, brothers?
I honestly think from 14, that is the time that they need to critically think how to defend their faith. Where do they go from? Because honestly, some kids at secondary school are brutal. They'll just like Google something on their phone, like I remember this in my day. Yeah, they're like top 10 things to disprove the Quran. One of my friends just typed it in Google. Top 10 things to disprove the Quran. Oh, look, in Surah An-Nur it says that the whale, there was a whale, the world was made, it's an ancient belief that the world was made on the back of a whale called Nun. And that the Quran stole it from an ancient Amazonian tribe or something like that. Like, where's this stuff come from? And it can confuse people. So this is like, what, the Quran got this idea from an ancient tribe? And the Quran was copied from the Jews that lived in Medina. And I honestly think that
the untrained mind.
The untrained mind is too much. It's too much. And people, I think kids can easily lose their faith.
Social media is a very dangerous social media.
But it's interesting what you said about looking, man. So how do they manage to get the point and people with real
Sometimes loneliness is worse than a disease. Sometimes loneliness is worse than a disease. They make up anything. In the reception, they'll just say, I've got arm pain, very severe or something like that.
Yeah. So they have to make it
They just
We had a run through.
I know. And I wish I could.
That's why I didn't know the answer. That's why you said all this about, because that's what we talked about.
You're rushing to get them out of the door. You're rushing. Anyway, this used to be the case. I'm not working in the community anymore. I work in the community.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought about this.
Sorry, just
I thought about this.
If you're free, I don't want to say the conversation. I was talking to a gentleman and mentioning about my interest in volunteering further. The Tarbiyah program, I spoke to them more.
Nice.
And Furqan is the treasurer, I believe, because obviously I work in finance, so that's an interest of mine. But really, with regards to any sort of volunteering, is really my interest. With regards to the Tarbiyah program, they mentioned those three aspects: the personal, the career, and the sort of sports side, physical side. All those three, I'm 100%. I mean, in terms of the sports side, I go to the gym like 4 times a week. In terms of the career, working in finance, having just graduated, and still studying qualifications, trying to advance my career, and then even the personal side, just the stuff I sort of do in my spare time, stuff I read, stuff I try to consume. So I don't know if there was a way to get involved in that and help the youth to sort of see the right side, to advance themselves on all of those aspects. I'm 100% down to volunteering in that. And anything else, even not necessarily the Tarbiyah program, but anything. Like for example, the Eid, I really enjoyed it.
We really enjoyed having you around there as well, mashallah. It was really good. Alright, alhamdulillah, man. A guy with your skills, mashallah, you can probably slot in pretty much anywhere.
I hope so, yeah.
In any activity that we do, mashallah. So, yeah, let's keep it open, alhamdulillah. And I suppose the best thing for you to do probably is just to keep an eye out on the volunteer portal. See whenever these guys have a certain element of their Tarbiyah program ready to roll, and they're requesting volunteers. Just jump straight in, inshallah.
Where can I find the volunteer portal? Is it just on the website?
Yes, it's on the website.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can. There is a page on the website itself. There's also a Telegram group as well, so you can get instant notifications and stuff like that. Things change, whatever things are added, and that sort of thing. Right? We occasionally do it on the main Telegram group, the masjid. I don't know if you're on that.
I don't think I am. That's why I wasn't aware.
Yes, and then you get updates on there as well.
Okay, cool.
About other things that are happening in the masjid outside of that. So,
I can sign up to that on the website.
Yeah, all of that information is on the website. You just go into volunteering, and then you find all the information there. Just sign up to that. Yeah, so once you're on that, then whenever we come up with, whenever we're ready to roll on this, because it's kind of like most of the stuff is work in progress. We haven't actually finalised the plans. We don't really know what the number of people are going to be, the time frames that we're going to do, and everything. But it's about to happen, so kind of precipice of actually this is the time we're going to be doing it, this is who we're going to need to do it, and so as soon as that happens, that's when we're going to need to either get involved.
So with regards to the Tarbiyah program, that's one that's coming up, which hasn't sort of launched yet, but it's about to come up. Which kind of programs of volunteering are in existence now, which are happening they're just
can
can't stay
come
time.
and
Are there any of those which I can get involved in at all?
or they will say, oh yeah, where are the notes?
At the moment,
this place is not
we kind of focused initially on like more back end services, which is basically like laying the foundation, how do we organise people, how do we put people together, how do we do the administrative side of things, right? So the areas that we've initially got people to get involved with was volunteer coordination, logistics management, and helping out in certain selective areas. So now that that's done, I think there's a couple of things that are open. I think there's four spots or 4 areas that are open at the moment. They're fairly low level and low key. The first is volunteer coordination. The second is helping out in like Jumu'ah and other sort of like logistics management. The third is helping out the digital team. There's a lot of things that we do like online and stuff, right? And a lot of our interactions with people, whilst there are face-to-face in the masjid, a lot of our communications are online, via the website and social media and that sort of thing. And then the fourth and final one is, I can't remember, I think it's something to do with the extension, if I'm not wrong. Oh, external speakers. So like Omar mentioned it in his like, sort of segment, where we used to have like every sort of Friday or every weekend or whatever, we used to get like people from outside coming in, specialist speakers in certain subjects, and they would like sort of address the community and whatever something they specialise in, and it will get us sort of like a conversation going, a debate going, and some sort of like alternative ideas. They'll be teaching us something new as well about something specific, and it's just everyone just kind of comes together around that, and then there'll be food afterwards and that sort of thing. So we've got a group together at the moment. I think 2 or 3 people have signed up so far. Do that. The idea is get some ideas down on paper about the kind of subjects, like the key subjects that we want to get.
He was talking about spreadsheets with regards to emailing lists going out. I said, look, I work with spreadsheets every day at work. I'm quite confident with Microsoft Excel. If there was any sort of admin work, because you're talking about sort of I mean, because it's finance, right? So we have to.
I've been trying to get rid of my.
I mean, with regards to Excel or Word or PowerPoint, I mean, I handle it every day. So if you need any help with spreadsheets,
sometimes
Excel,
it's about streamlining our work. Some of us aren't exactly like the most well versed in that sort of thing. It's not my background.
I mean, I have to do it, so it's something that's just
making our work a little bit easier,
exactly,
even like more efficient. If you like.
I mean, look, every day at work we get sent a sort of spreadsheet from a client, and I look at it, I'm like, it's a complete mess. It just needs to be organised, and you organise it, and you can sort of visualise all your data clearly, and it takes 5 minutes from there. Whereas if you do it with Airone, it's going to take half an hour. So if there was anything like spreadsheets or any of that kind of admin kind of stuff that you needed help with, that I could sort of help organise, just to make future processes much easier. Because then once it's set up in an organised way, it's quite easy to keep it organised.
There's a lot of that, man. There's a lot.
I'd be happy to help out. I'd be happy to help out.
Wicked. All right, man.
Have you got my number? I can pass it to you. And drop me a WhatsApp. I have an exam on the 23rd, so between now and the 23rd, I'm not really doing much apart from studying. You know, I was telling you before, I've always got exams. That's me. Yeah, 777. Yeah. So yeah, between now and the 23rd, I'm not really doing much apart from studying for my exam. But as soon as that's done, I'm completely, my weekends are completely disposable for helping here. I was asked by my brother Noor, how many hours per week? I was like, well, kind of got like almost all my Saturday free, if that's good. He goes, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's clear by any means as to what that journey means.
Okay, cool, no worries. Have you gone, yeah? Okay. Is that a phone number Windows or yeah? The iPhone? Alright, cool. I'll restart the live stream then. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty man.
I didn't hear your number.
No way, man.
What do we call me?
You should
But you tried to call you?
Maybe, I think so. Jada, what are you going to do, man?
Assalamu alaikum. You can make your way back to seats, please.
I just said my exam is 23rd. After that, I've got 23rd of November. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'll be in contact with you.
Really good
Okay, wicked. Let's do that now.
conversation during the break.
Yep.
A lot of it about youth and how we can cater for different services to attract the youth and to, inshallah, uphold our future here as Muslims. I'm going to give you just a very quick run through now of where we are with the extension. Some of you may have kind of remembered it from a long time ago, but just in case, for those people who this is new to, why extend? So we've got a growing community. We've had a significant increase in capacity over the last last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and need more services. So we just started talking about the kind of new services we might want to introduce, inshallah, for our community now and also moving forward as we kind of mature. So when are we going to extend? The process has already started, so I'll take you through that in a second. Planning permission has been secured, many of you will know that already, and we need to start before November 2023. Okay? So, what is the extension, or what is the kind of new bit? So that's the representation of the extension. Believe it or not, this is the current masjid, so it's extending forward quite a lot. So the new part of the build is all to the front. Actually, there's one exception, which is an extra floor in the back here. But pretty much the building we're in, at least the walls and the ceilings and everything, and the floors, they all stay the same. What's next? Right. So all the floors, you see at the bottom here, the car park is still there. So we're extending everything on what will be the new first floor, second floor, and the third floor, which is currently above us, which doesn't have any clear use at the moment other than storage. So the capacity for brothers and sisters is more than doubled, inshallah. And on the third floor here, what we've currently got above us, we're going to have classrooms. So there are classrooms on the third floor, inshallah. In order to kind of maintain the car park at the front has to remain. It's a planning condition for mainly disabled spaces, but also for employees. Step-free wheelchair access will be provided for all. It's not currently, but it will be there for all, inshallah, the brothers and sisters areas. And we're going to have a lift installed. This is actually a lift shaft up here. So inshallah, there'll be a lift there to all the floors. So more easily accessible for everybody, inshallah. So what's next? Timeline, okay. So 2016-ish, we engaged the architect for the front extension. That was quite a long time ago. Might have even been 2015, but around then. That's been done. Planning permission, we got approval in 2020, so tick there as well. Design team in place, 2022. So we've had to appoint 5 main contractors, consultants, and 4 or 5 minor consultants, all of whom are the team, we call the design team, that put the tender pack together that we send to the builders, to the constructors. That's in place, it's been done. They've been working for quite a while now, 6, 7 months, something like that. Maybe slightly less for some of them. What's the next thing? So what these guys will do is they'll prepare a tender pack. So the tender pack is the set of documentation, probably quite a big set of documentation, that we send to the builders and say, right, how much is it going to cost to build all this? And there are some idiosyncrasies which I'll talk to you about on the next slide, inshallah. What's after that? Well, after that, tender pack is issued, number of people bid, we look at the bids, and then we interview them, based on how much they cost and what they're going to provide, we will appoint a contractor. So we want to have a kind of signed contract in place. It's currently looking like, the latest plan is looking like just around or after Ramadan. that will happen, inshallah. And then the work starts. So the work start a little bit. There's probably about a month between signing a contract and the work starting. So that's kind of where we are in terms of the timeline. We're kind of advanced, although probably not as quickly as we wanted to. Right. So a little bit about a bit about our approach. So we know the extension is going to be expensive. We don't actually have a definitive figure yet because our quantity surveyor hasn't given us one, and that's because he hasn't got all the information to give us one. What we do know is that construction costs and labour costs have skyrocketed recently, so we expect it to be more expensive than it would have been otherwise. What we're going to try and do, because it's going to be expensive, we're going to specify delivery in phases. So we're not going to say, right, the masjid is going to be closed for 18 months or whatever. We need to raise some silly amount of money. We're going to try and specify phases, and I'll take you through that in a second. So small chunks, we'll build this and then we'll stop. Then we'll raise some money, we'll build this and then we'll stop. In a very organized way, so that we can, certainly between the phases, we can reuse, next one is. So each phase will only be built when we have our funds in place. So we shouldn't ever have this panic that if we don't have this money by March, nothing's going to happen. We shouldn't have that, inshallah. We want to not be a kind of a burden to the community. Clearly, somebody could come with feeling very generous, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could send them, and they might give us all the money, in which case we'll just build it all, inshallah. But we're planning on this being a phased build over a length of time, so that we're not putting undue pressure on ourselves. 2 years to raise the masjid during that time. So that's how we're one of our kind of key requirements for phasing. And there are going to be times when, because of the nature, just to bring to your attention, that the works that are going to be carried out are quite major. There may be times when the masjid has to be closed. We don't have that, fully planned out yet. That'll be available probably when we get the bids back from the contractor, because that's the kind of information they will tell us. Health and safety says it has to be closed at this time, those kind of things. But we want to maximise the amount of time that we can use the masjid while the building work is going on. That's kind of one of our principles. What does the phasing look like? Right, so this is, if you can imagine, this is a cut through of the new ground floor. So what's going to happen is the current basement, where you have to kind of walk up the slope to get to the basement, that slope goes, it becomes flat. So effectively, the front of the road here is level with what our current basement is. So we're going to call that the new ground floor. Inshallah, that's going to be all the sisters area, okay, and some kind of accessibility areas on the front. These are the kitchen shown there. Look, what the phasing was going to be was phase one was going to be kind of digging all the way around the hill, because they've got to put some underground trenches in and drainage and things like that. But at a meeting on Thursday, they suggested that phase one might not be needed. So we might not have to do this as a phase one, but that would have been the kind of how we started the works, but it might not be anymore. And you can imagine, when we're doing this, there's going to be no access from Rosemary Avenue, all the access has to be up here. Okay? So that's quite important, because for what I'm going to say next. So phase two, which may be the new phase one actually, is basically digging up the front, putting in all the foundations and building up to the first floor. So during phase two, the masjid that we see is relatively unscathed. We can still use it. But all of the front will be cordoned off. This will be a big building site. So you can imagine that we can't have so many people in one place with a small exit here, which is not going to be acceptable to the relevant authorities. So we're going to have a chat with the eventual contractor. There may be, say for example, on Fridays they can put one of these ruggedized paths there, so that the Muslim can get in and out properly. Especially, it's going to be the fire safety that's going to be most. But these are the kind of debates that we're having to have. We don't know. But so, and the idea is the ground floor, that's the first floor. So it basically you build the ground floor and the first floor at the front. So these are just, this is kind of open concrete. Phase 3, so that's the phase 2. Phase 3 is effectively the front bit of the building, making it, building it up and making it weatherproof. Okay, so it's putting the walls up, putting the roof on, making it weatherproof. So you can see that's the second floor, that's the third floor, that's that, and that's the roof. So actually, by the end of phase 3, you end up with a watertight structure here. So then you can see the logic is then what they'll do is they'll move into the back into this building here. So, and the idea is when they move into here and start doing stuff here, we should be able to use some of this area. So again, kind of making sure that as much as possible we have usable space where we can. The main thing is Isha Salah. The main thing. First floor, same thing. Fire escape. This is actually our extension hall at the moment, but they have to put. They have to get ready to put plant in. So plant is, we've got some very heavy machinery they've got to put in for air conditioning and various other bits and bobs, and that's going to go most in here and on bits of the roof. So they've got to get ready to put the plant in. They've got to build up the fire escape and finish off the lift. And then I think they finish it off with the roof. So by the end of phase 4, we have pretty much an enclosed structure with hopefully a working lift, fire escapes, etc. It won't be necessarily pretty inside, but there'll be areas that we can reuse. And then phase 5, it's the rest of it basically. So redoing the wudu areas, moving the kitchen areas and the sisters, etc. I don't think there's much else. Yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same thing. I think sorting out the classroom layout at the top. Yeah. So that's a kind of a whistle stop tour of the extension. How we plan to run it. There's a few questions. Can you help? So if you've got any experience in any of these things, construction, general building works, fundraising or project management, we'd really like to hear from you, because even though it's my name on the title sheet, I should have said this at the beginning, there's a group of a number of brothers who are very kind of involved in this and pushing it forward at all times. So it's only a kind of a dispersed effort, but there's no harm in getting more and more people on board as long as you've got the right the kind of skill set, and I'll be able to dedicate the relevant amount of time. So this is a problem we've had occasionally, in that some people have been really well-meaning, they've come on board, but they weren't necessarily aware that they had to dedicate, or they're expected to dedicate so much time. And we know, for example, that if I'm doing something well at work, I want to when I come here, I want to do it better because I'm doing it for Allah, right? We do it with ihsan. If I'm going shopping, I'm doing shopping for the masjid, I want to do it better. So when you are volunteering, when we're volunteering and we come to the masjid, we want to do it better. So that's the kind of mindset we need to keep. And alhamdulillah, there's a group of people who are at the moment, they've mashallah moving this forward despite all the obstacles, and alhamdulillah we get quite a few obstacles. How do you, if you want to contact us, there's a website and Telegram, because there's volunteering opportunities already listed on the website and through Telegram. We can just contact us, and me or anybody else, especially if you've got these kind of key skill sets, inshallah, for the fundraising. I think that's it for the update. Can I take questions? Is there anything on Slido? No. Okay, so you all either
Who advises the most?
Who advises the mosque on what? Right, so we've got an architect on board, we've got a structural engineer on board, we've got a mechanical and electrical engineer on board, we've got a quantity surveyor, we've got a contract administrator, we've got a fire and safety consultant, we've got an environmental consultant who looks at the you know, acoustics and various other bits and
Yeah,
bobs.
but overall, who takes charge of the whole project?
I'm not sure you mean, so that the trustees are running the project, if that's what you mean. We also have,
How experienced are they in all these fields?
well, it's kind of why we're asking for people who've done build. Yeah.
It's not like a little extension in your home. It's a big thing.
So if you know people who are suitably qualified, please do, and you know, they're happy to give their name, please do give us the information. Sorry?
Everybody is qualified in their own little field. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is overall, who is in charge of the whole project?
He is.
The trustees are.
Yeah, so I'm the chair of the committee, if that's what you mean, if that's the person.
But anyway, what about when this mosque was first built?
Yeah.
There was issue of water, and the whole construction had to be stopped
It
for
did.
quite a few months.
Yeah, yeah.
I think about 90 months to a year,
Right.
because they found water underneath.
That's right.
Is that issue won't arise again, would it?
So I think under the phase 1 extension, they found the wells that were there, and they stopped them up.
Yeah.
So where they are at the bottom, so there was a number of problems and delays at the front, at the back. So they've been, well, this time we've had CCTV surveys of all the drains and things, and the expert who's been paid to do this has given us sort of maps and things of where things need to go, what we can reuse, what's the health of the current things. So we'd like to think that we've tried to do this properly. Yes, I know we're not hyper experienced in these
So
things, but
roughly the whole project will cost roughly how much?
so we don't know yet.
25 million.
So we do have an idea.
Don't
So we do have an idea, absolutely. But the last time we had an idea, we gave it to the community, and that number has stuck. So what I want to do is wait until the quantity surveyor has given us a number, and then if he's got it wrong, we've got recourse. At the moment, I don't want to tell everybody it's 20 million, 10 million, 5 million, or 2 million. I don't want to tell people that. That's the number that's going to stick in people's head. But I do have a rough estimate, I just don't want to share it.
Rough estimate is, we all, when we call a builder to do an extension, we say, okay, give me a rough estimate.
Yeah.
No,
Can we be patient and let other people ask some questions as well? Because if you don't dominate all the questions, I have questions I want to ask this, but then you're not giving me a chance.
Okay, so just to finish off answering the question, the quantity surveyor has promised to give us the costings by the middle of next month. Promise, right? And we've asked as much as possible to bring that forward, and he understands that. So inshallah, we should be very soon in a place where we're able to share costings, and not just overall costings by phase, which inshallah should be really useful. Sorry about that, Deji. Do you want to ask a question?
My question, brother. Thank you very much. When can we have the next CBS?
Right, very good question. The next CBS, Abdul Basit, where is he?
Inshallah, could be 3 months, could be 6 months, just depending on the appetite from the community. Inshallah.
Well, okay, answer back to you. We've not been excellent at communicating. We are trying to address that by these kind of things, and I understand that there's only a short time for Q&As, and inshallah we can do this more regularly. Firstly, there'll be less of surprises and less questions. But secondly, we'd like to see everybody get involved more, and everybody benefit from the ability, the opportunity to get involved more. We want to be open and as transparent as we can. By the way, you asked about the expenses and things. The annual accounts are published. So they're published. They're very I think they're on the Charity Commission website. Is that right? Yes. So, and I have all the expenses and everything in it. So if you want to look at those,
income and expenditure.
Everything, yeah. So it's quite detailed.
What?
So just ask this brother.
Like we see in the YouTube when you're watching something, some people they're trying to find a ways to build a mosque.
Yeah.
Are we doing any advertisement to the marketing, to let people know that we're doing this, or it's just people coming to the mosque?
So not yet. There is a fundraising stream that's been set up in the trustee targets. When we know the amount that we're going to fundraise overall and also for phase one, we can prepare the documentation. We can, we can then run the campaigns. So the team are looking at lots of different ways of doing that. Absolutely, we'll have to go as widely as possible. I think they were talking about television. They were talking about all these other things that I'm not obviously very in the knowledge know about, but they are, inshallah. So inshallah we're doing that. And any help, if you've got particular knowledge or particular people, then please do tell us.
What about Middle East countries? Approaching Middle East countries, you send representatives?
We haven't yet, but it's certainly something that the committee will look at, inshallah. Did we, Brother Willie, did we do that last time? We talked about it the other time.
Well, we have referred to the issue, but we haven't finalized how we are going to go about that.
Sure.
I think what we need there is really context. So, if somebody knows somebody, especially in the Middle Eastern countries or Turkish, ambassador, etc. So we need those contexts because it's generally, you can imagine they must be receiving hundreds and thousands of applications.
Yeah.
So if anyone knows anyone, then that's what we need.
That's a fair point. Yeah. So inshallah, when that stream gets going, we'll have to consider all of these things.
Because with the oil price rises, they are
Yeah.
adding in money.
Yeah. Or even anybody who owns an energy company.
But we need the context. I mean, even now, if anyone knows anyone, so please come forward and share the details.
Have you in mind putting solar?
Yeah, that's a consideration. So part of the council conditions is we have to meet this thing called BREEAM. So it's a guide of how carbon neutral or what's the word? Sustainable. How sustainable you are. And so part of that is energy generation. So if we put solar panels on, then we get additional points. And they add up. If we fail that, they don't give us planning permission. So we need to have kind of something from each of them. And one of the consultants on board is a BREEAM consultant. So they'll advise us on those things. Any other questions or people? Oh, just in time. Who's at the back?
Question on
That's what I'm here for. You got a question on slide?
Yeah. General question. Or
Yeah.
should we?
Well, as long as it's appropriate. It'll be a program. You go.
So I think it's maybe the sister that left. She mentioned, I think the Tarbiyah program is brilliant. Can we adapt this for young parents on how to start foundations of Tarbiyah in their families? So for the Tarbiyah program, it's definitely not on the roadmap because it's kind of not part of that work stream, that project, inshallah, that we want to launch. But there is another trustee target called the structured educational courses. So there could be a possibility if we find the right teacher to have a course on parenting and how to raise a family and something along those lines. So not as part of the Tarbiyah program, but potentially as part of our structured educational classes, inshallah.
Any others?
No, when will it start? When
I want to ask the guy.
you can have him afterwards, inshallah. We'll be able to, I think you have to find his wife.
Have to get permission from my wife first.
So another question, inshallah. When will the Tarbiyah program start? So inshallah, we're formalizing the plans for the 3 different areas. We don't have a set date yet, but if you want to expedite it, you can't wait, you want people to be involved, then you have to help us, inshallah, because we need your help, we need your support, and that's the only way we can progress it faster. So we don't have a set date for when we're going to start something. Ideally, we want something maybe in the upcoming holidays, but it's TBC. But yeah, definitely just stay tuned to the website and Telegram and other social media platforms, inshallah, where we will update you all on that.
Okay, so
Last one, please.
Yeah, okay.
5 years ago, when you were thinking of doing an extension, when you were planning in 2017, the Muslim population in Barnet was rising. There was a need, but now recently there have been texts flying around to say that the new Southgate Mosque has been bought, and it's in the process of being bought. So obviously now we won't have as many musallis in this mosque. Is there a need for an extension of that size, which it's already costed you 70 to 100,000 in plans, because plans are not cheap, they're roughly that price. Can you instead divert that money to building retirement homes, women's hostels, men's hostels, so many other buildings, refurbishment of office blocks so that we can house our Muslims. They are being housed in hotels, in filthy conditions, in conditions not appropriate for families.
Okay, so
we can count our costs and say, okay, we are losing 100,000, at least it's not millions. And we bind up an office block here in Finchley somewhere.
okay, so is there still a requirement for an extended masjid? I think I would argue that what I am seeing, yes, and especially, so this is something that we're doing for the next 20, 30 years. It's not going to be, we're doing it for the next 5 years. And if you think about, in 96 this place was opened, and you know the brothers that were here around then, they said they used to struggle to get 1 or 2 people in, to say Salah, let alone anything else. You've seen that, I mean, since I've been coming here regularly, I've seen attendances probably double just for the normal salawat. We've seen that we're having to turn people away at Jummah, so we're having to have two Jummahs, and even then some people come so we don't really want that to happen. Ramadan, you know that we have issues. So what we're seeing is that there's a demand for just for Salah. There's a demand for more people, for more place to pray. Absolutely, and I think that demand is still on the rise because we're quite a young population generally, and growing. So the question you asked earlier about the demographic, how many Muslims here, 15%, I think the brother said. We're the fastest growing demographic, right? So now, not all of those 40,000 people will be interested in coming to the masjid, right? Absolutely not. But actually, what if you think about what we're trying to do, we're a masjid, inshallah, we offer 5 times salah, then we've kind of done our job as a masjid. However, we're trying to build a community. Yeah, so when we come here, it's not about it's absolutely all about 100% worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and forgetting about the outside world. What we want to do is create an environment that people forget about the outside world. They come in and they just want to do their ibadah, or they want to do their learn their tajweed, or they want to find out about how to become a medic. So we want inshallah over time to become a hub for the community, right? You've seen this. I'll come to you in a second, inshallah. So you've seen this throughout the time of Muslims, right? And the shuyukh will tell you about how this used to happen, etc. But what we want to do is plant a seed of intention. We want that to grow. So all the things you've seen here, some of them we have to do just because we're a charity, this, that, and the other. Others, what we're trying to do is to lay the foundations so that the community can grow, so children's children can build on it, have more and more and more. So it's not. So I don't think it's just about the salah, although that's absolutely the main thing. It's actually about building a community, and at some point, perhaps even now, this extension isn't big enough for us. So, but that's it. We can't extend here anymore. Then it's about other places, like you said, Southgate. In Barnet recently, there's the Salah opened. Alhamdulillah, we need to welcome those, right? We also need to work with them. We've recently joined North London
Council of Mosques.
North London Council of Mosques. Alhamdulillah, there's some really excellent work going on there. They're still at the planning stage, but they want to join things up so that we can have a single voice and we can actually have an impact on our environment in terms of whether it's education programs for our children or whatever it is, so that we can from a position of deen rather than from a position of self-interest, we can start kind of spreading out a little bit. So we've come here, we've kind of initially were on the defensive quite a lot, we're still on the defensive. Somebody mentioned attacks in the media, etc. I can't remember who. But actually, we've got the light. We've actually got the haqq. So why aren't we brightening our light and letting other people kind of absorb that? That's really where we're looking to do. So we need to do that. We need to look at the models of Prophet ﷺ, how they did that when they went to various places. It all starts somewhere. And it all starts with a really good intention. And that's what we want to start with. So the fact that we've got a beautiful building or a big building is neither here nor there. It's the people in it that are important. So having all these other services around that allow the people in it to develop and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how they share their light with others, absolutely, that's the way we want to go, inshallah. Well, you had
I didn't actually have a question, but I just wanted to add, if you allow me,
yeah, please.
That before this masjid was built, the brothers who started it, they went round collecting, and they used to have jamaats on a Friday, right, in a hall that was hired. Faisal I would know very well. The question is, if they said, well, we've established our jamaat now, Fridays, done, we're done, we've done our work, mashallah, let's stop there. If they had stopped there, do you think we would be here talking about this masjid? So the point, I think you've made it very clearly, is it's about continuous development, yeah? And all of those other things that you've mentioned about building houses for the elderly people, etc., there will be people who are commercially minded be doing that anyway, right? Question is, should we be doing it? Yes, if we had the capacity, yes, if we had the money, yes, if we had all of those things, maybe once we finish building this and once we've enabled all our youngsters to come and join, maybe that's the next phase that they will take forward, yeah? So we need to continue developing, and I think, brother, you did a fantastic job. We need to continue to develop, and we need to continue to do what we've intended to do, inshallah, and make dua for us that we can make it happen, inshallah.
The extension will take only about 70 to 80 musallis extras?
No, it's doubling on capacity. It's doubling on capacity.
I didn't say
that.
I just want to make it clear. I didn't want it. Hey, auntie, why you got to do me dirty like that, man?
She's taking everyone down.
So Mohammed, I'm going to take that down for your performance. No, capacity, well, look.
So there's an official number, and
Yeah.
that's the number we have to use for now.
What's the official number?
600.
600. Okay, the official number is 600. We get a lot more people than that. I can't maybe I can't.
600 is just the first Jummah, then the second Jummah also.
Yeah. So 600 is the capacity inside of the building. We have a lot more people than that. I think we get. Because it's going out on the internet. Can turn that off.
No, it's not that much.
No, he's live
So,
streaming.
But
yeah.
you have just said that it's much.
It's a number. I'm not going to tell you it's more, right? The new arrangement, inshallah. When we come pray quite close together. So that's what we can stick more people in. And then we are, by the time we, and we're just wanting so much for Allah. I stand out there on Fridays, and the people come in with such amazing smiles and such beautiful greetings. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Only that is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts in their heart, and that's it. You know, nobody else could have done that. And the fact that we can now get double that number, we have the 2 Jummahs, or even during the summer, sometimes 3 Jummahs, especially during the holidays, and people are bringing their youngsters, etc., is going to be great, inshallah. But this will happen. This might not happen, right? It's all in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should all say dua, inshallah. And if it happens, it'll only happen when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides it. So, I'll get off my soapbox now.
Well said, man.
Can you do a close up?
Yeah, sure.
بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق الخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. اللهم تقبل منا يا رب العالمين. اللهم تقبل منا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما أعلنا وما أنت أعلم به منا. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم وفقنا لكل عمل تحبه وترضاه يا أكرم الأكرمين. اللهم يسر لنا أن نحقق أهدافنا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم بواسع رحمتك وعظيم قدرتك حقق لنا أهدافنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم يسر لنا أن نكون في خدمة الإسلام والمسلمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم ارزقنا الإخلاص في القول والعمل. اللهم اجعلنا من المتقين والمسلمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم اهدنا لأحسن الأخلاق لا يهدي لأحسنها إلا أنت واصرف عنا سيئها لا يصرف عنها سيئها إلا أنت. اللهم اجعلنا على قلب رجل واحد يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجمع بيننا يا رب العالمين. اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا يا أكرم الأكرمين. اللهم وحد صفوفنا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Jazakumullah khair for coming, guys, and we'll see you at the next CBS. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.